Alright lads, welcome back to another episode of my thoughts on, and this time it's going to be talking about the January transfer window and the importance of it in terms of any team's season. Obviously the January transfer window is the kind of mid-season transfer window that every kind of country gets, although obviously there might be some countries where it isn't implemented, but in the majority of countries it's obviously a massive thing, and there has been numerous transfers that have really worked out. Obviously with the good there comes the bad. I'm not really going to go into many of the bad kind of signings. I want to kind of highlight the importance of the January transfer window and how it can be a big massive effect on a team's season. I've seen it personally just as recently as last season with my own team, Dunfermline Athletic. So the January transfer window is a key period for teams, and I want to just kind of reflect on big signings that have happened and how maybe some teams this season, especially in Scotland, because obviously that's the kind of teams that I know most about, the teams in Scotland can benefit from making these types of signings at this time of the year. Just as a kind of mood setter, obviously I said I was going to talk about Scotland, but in terms of January signings and how important they've been, I think three that have happened in English football really kind of highlight how much it can change a team's season. For example, Luis Suarez signing for Liverpool, Nemanja Vidic signing for Man United, Gary Cahill signing for Chelsea. Despite the fact that he's not great just now, he's won absolutely everything with Chelsea. All of those signings have proved massively beneficial to the clubs who they ended up signing for, and it can be transformed into any country. It's just a simple thing as signing a player that then ends up being so vital to your club. Another example, who is performing still week in week out for the club down south in England, is Wilfried Zaha signing from Man United, joining Crystal Palace, and we all know how vital he is to Crystal Palace, and for all that they're still doing relatively bad this season, he is a big key factor in them having a chance of staying up. If they didn't have him, they would be looking at not very much in terms of overall talent within their team. Wilfried Zaha is a great example of a player who has completely transformed a club from signing in a January transfer window. And another great example of that, a winger again, Riyad Mahrez, signing from Le Havre in France and joining Leicester, and we all know what went on to happen from that. He went on to save Leicester from relegation, he then went on to win the Premier League title with them, take them into Champions League football, and then of course he's joined Manchester City, and he's going to go on and win multiple trophies at his time at Manchester City. And it just goes to show that these types of signings can really just show how great the January transfer window can be. Obviously I mentioned that there is bad signings as well, but that just comes with every transfer window. The January transfer window is obviously the time where you've already seen what your team's like through a season, and you can see what areas you need to improve on, and a lot of times there's been great signings that have been made in the January transfer window, and that was just 5 or 6 of them there. Onto the Scottish football side of it, as I said, I kind of experienced this last season with Dunfermline. We were really floundering going into the January transfer window this time last year. At this point last year we were getting beat 5-2 for Cooney the South at East End Park, and really at a loss to what we're going to do on that season. It looked so promising at the start of the season, and then we just floundered off for kind of late October into late December, and then from January onwards we pretty much went on an almost unbeaten run. It took a wee while after the January transfer window for it to eventually kick in, but I would say from definitely mid-February through into the end of the playoffs, where we obviously got beat for Dundee United, but from about mid-February onwards we had a fantastic run of form. It started repeating Inverness in midweek 1-0 at East End Park, and obviously as I said it finished in the playoffs against Dundee United. We went unbeaten for about 11 games, and it was a fantastic wee period for us. It was very similar to the start of the season where we'd had a brilliant run of form, and it all came down to the January signings that we made. We had a massive lack of depth in the centre of the park that season, and we acknowledged that and went and signed a good few midfielders, Tom Beadland, James Cragen, players of that sort of ilk, and they really transformed our whole mobility issue in the middle of the park. That's what I'm meaning by you can see your weaknesses earlier in the season and you can look at it and go, that's where we need to strengthen in January, here, here and here. and it just made a massive difference to us in terms of how we played as a team, because our problem was, as I said, a lack of depth and mobility in midfield. We had Nat Wedderburn and Dean Shields in the centre of the park for the majority of the season, not really contributing with goals and assists as well, and it was a massive thing for us to be able to get the ball from midfield into our forwards and obviously out to the wingers and then into the forwards to score goals, and also the midfielders themselves contributing goals. And we addressed that, and it completely transformed our season. So it's a clear thing that the January transfer window can offer in terms of your team could really transform their season and push on and get to where you want to be. We obviously wanted to be in the playoffs at the point of before the January transfer window. I think we were maybe sitting about 7th, maybe 6th, and then we eventually pushed on, and with vital wins in that kind of 11, maybe 12 game unbeaten run, we got very important results. Even the 2-2 drop at Inverness proved absolutely vital, and the players that we brought in the January transfer window proved key to that. Obviously those players had a massive impact on our season, and that is the kind of bare bones of what my point is with this, that if you get the right players in, it can really transform your season into what you all hope it was going to be. This season, obviously, you've got teams in the Scottish Premiership like St Mirren, Dundee, many teams. There obviously is going to be many teams looking for January additions, even Rangers, Celtic and all that. They'll be looking for improvements. Celtic will be looking for improvements in terms of trying to improve in the European stage, which is obviously a higher calibre of player. Rangers will be looking for maybe a creative player, maybe a player to play in the number 10 role to kind of drive them forward a bit more and have a bit more creative flair. And then in terms of the bottom teams like Dundee and St Mirren, and then in the Championship, teams like Falkirk, Partick Thistle, Dunfermline themselves, I'm not entirely sure what we should bring in the January transfer window, if anything. But of course teams like us, we're going to be looking for that. And as I said, Dundee and St Mirren as well. Teams that are looking to just make that final push to bring in the added quality that they so badly need, because there's no doubt that these teams have had lacklustre starts to the season, or starts. It's basically a full half season now. These kind of teams, the ones that are kind of floating about the bottom or mid-table and are looking to either push off the bottom and push up as far as they can in the league, or like us and have a small gap to go until the promotion playoffs at the moment, and we're obviously looking to get in there, we need that added quality. And for teams like that, it's vitally important. With the Riyad Mahrez example that I said earlier, and Crystal Palace as well, these teams need players like a Wilfried Zaha and a Riyad Mahrez to completely transform how they play as a team. For Leicester, Riyad Mahrez brought them flair and creativity and ended up performing out of his skin for Leicester and has went on to even better things. If any teams in Scotland, like the ones I mentioned, Falkirk, Partick Thistle, Dunfermline, Dundee, St Mirren, if any of these teams can get players of any similar type of impact as they did, obviously not the quality, you're never going to get the quality of players like that playing in the second tier or even top tier in Scotland. But St Mirren themselves have obviously had a player in the last few months in Adam Hamill, who's completely kind of transformed how they play and has delivered some fantastic moments, some fantastic long range finishes, and of course that kind of endears himself to the fans, and it can really be a kind of season changing transfer. And if they can make any similar types of signings to that in January, as I said before, it could massively change their season. Every team will know their weaknesses and strengths going into the January transfer window, and it's vitally important that whatever managers are in charge of these teams, that they get it exactly right in January, because for all that it could be the thing that changes your season on a positive note, it could easily change it in a negative note as well if you get the wrong recruitment and it doesn't work out for you. It could cost you your job. As we all know with modern day football, jobs are on the line at the click of a finger these days. And on the flip side of it, obviously, as I said, it could be a positive light and it could completely change your season. And that's it for this video, guys. Cheers for watching. If you did enjoy, please give it a like. Comment down below any signings that you think clubs could make, or which clubs do you think vitally need changes in the January transfer window. And subscribe for more of this type of content. And until the next video, which will be punted long tomorrow, I'll see you then. Cheers, guys.